now. I don't like talking about transfers just because it's just a load of nonsense most of the time. But I did just want to quickly touch on the growing rumour mill, which has indicated that Victor Osimhen, the informed striker whose goals have fired Napoli to a 15-point lead at the top of Serie A, is apparently somebody that Arsenal are very seriously interested in looking to bring to Arsenal in the summer. Now, I include a little clip here of him at the ceremony where he was handed the award for Best Foreign Sportsman in Italy. So let's have a listen.
Playing in one of the top five leagues in the world is amazing feeling for me and a good feat. But of course, a lot of people worldwide consider the Premier League as the best and the strongest league. But of course, I'm on a process. I'm in a phase. So now I'm in one of the best league in the world, which is the Italian Serie A. Of course, I'm working so hard to make sure that I achieve my dream in playing, of course, in the Premier League someday.
Now, is it just me, or does it seem a tiny bit tactless to receive an award for being the best foreign player in Italy and use it as an opportunity to immediately talk about how you're working as hard as you are so that you can get a chance to fulfil your dream of leaving and going to England and the Premier League? It's a tiny bit tactless, I think. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that big money signings from Italy don't always do well here. There's Shevchenko, who went to Chelsea from AC Milan for 30 million. I think he scored 4 goals in a season. It just didn't work out for him. And at the time, I would have given you your money that he was going to be the sensation that we all expected him to be. It just didn't happen for him. And then, of course, there's Balotelli, who was signed by Liverpool to replace the outgoing Suarez. He managed 4 goals in a season and obviously didn't work out for him at Liverpool. Then there's Aquilani, also managed only 1. And who can forget more recently Romelu Lukaku, who wasn't actually doing too badly until he gave an interview where he said that he didn't like it at Chelsea and wished he was back at Inter. That led to a falling out with Thomas Tuchel, and before long, wouldn't you know it, he goes back to Inter. What's funny about that is that Chelsea still had to pay his wages, so really not a great bit of business for Chelsea, although if Chelsea is synonymous with anything, it's not great business, is it? Other notable mentions in this list would be Cuadrado, Eric Lamela and Jovetic. And it seems it would be foolish to risk the kind of eye-watering money that Napoli would almost certainly demand for Osimhen. And bearing that in mind, certainly a club like Arsenal, who have not been in the same league of transfer spending as other teams. We did spend 72 million on Pepe, but some teams spend that on a goalkeeper nowadays. So it doesn't feel like a really good fit, this one. I'm going to say, though, just to balance this idea that signing players from Italy is always a bit of a mistake, the 2 best foreign players to grace the Premier League, I'm going to leave Eric Cantona out of this because, okay, so 2 of the best, but in my opinion, the 2 best Premier League players of all time, Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, both signed by Arsenal, both signed from Italy, both signed for 7.5 million in case of Bergkamp and 12 million, I think, 12.5 million in case of Thierry Henry. So 20 million for the pair of them. There are good deals to be done out there, and certainly I'm also happy to include Gianfranco Zola when he came to Chelsea, also set the Premier League on fire. So possibly. Overall, though, look, transfer windows are like this. Agents are trying to get hype up their players so that they get money. I think that his comments about joining the Premier League are orchestrated to get the attention of a team. Probably you're looking at a Chelsea who certainly could do with a striker. It doesn't look like João Felix is going to spend any more time than he can or has to at Chelsea. So for me, it feels like, it's this drumming up business, and I don't really see us as being the favourites to land him. And in a world full of in-the-knows who seem to just chuck names at a muddy wall in hopes that some of them stick, the one person you can typically trust on this is Fabrizio Romano, and he came out today and said that in his view and from what he's heard, Arsenal have no intention of signing Victor Osimhen, and in fact their priorities aren't even in that position, which makes sense because if you look at it, we do have Gabby Jesus. I'm not saying it can't both play together, but if they're both playing together, who are you dropping? Odegaard, Saka or Martinelli? And if you're not dropping one of those, then you're starting to look a little bit forward heavy for any team. It's a bit like Spurs in the just in the Klinsmann era. But I don't think that we are signing a striker, not just because we have Gabby Jesus, but because also, even though Victor Osimhen's numbers, he's second in Europe's leading goal scorers on 19 goals. Third place is Mbappe, and I think fourth or fifth place would therefore be Folarin Balogun, who is not. He's only 4 goals behind on 15. So since we have a Folarin Balogun already and don't have to pay for him, since we already have an Eddie Nketiah who apparently has been carrying an injury for a few weeks and that's led to his loss of form, but does have goals on the board, and certainly when you compare it to Shevchenko and Balotelli and the players I listed earlier, is scoring plenty of goals for the team. I don't see this happening. And if it does, great. But, it's not my money. So if the Arsenal board, the Cronkies, want to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on a player who could quite easily be a bigger flop than Pepe, have at it. I'm not going to hate on you for spending your money on Arsenal Football Club. And that goes for anyone.